Chairman Tapia Romero, we are streaming.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order. Dr. Albright may have a roll call, please.
Janelle Astorga.
Here.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Here.
Heather Benavides.
Here.
Courtney Jackson.
Here.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Here. So before adopting this agenda, we are going to be removing item 4.10.1, which is the refugee and newcomer support services. Our staff has asked that this item be removed and we'll add it at a later date. So if y'all can just please make note of that, I would appreciate it. So we will go ahead and continue on. Our first item is to consider adoption of the July 24th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we adopt the July 24th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting agenda with the amendment of the removal of 4.1. This is Board Member Benavides.
I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Benavides and a second by Member Secretary Astorga. Dr. Albright, may I have a motion?
Janelle Astorga.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes, but can I edit that it's 4.10.1, not 4.1 for the removal?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Thank you, Board Member Jackson. So our next item is to consider approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting agenda from June 26, 2024. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting on June 26, 2024. This is Board Member Benavides.
I'll second. This is Board Member Jackson.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Janelle Astorga.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. So our next item is to consider approval of the grant budget adjustments for the following funds. The first one is for federal flow-through grants, which is a total of $165,136,783 for a difference of $14,864,610. This was more than the anticipated amount. And before I continue, are we doing each one individually or are we doing all 8 as a whole? Because it's just one item. This looks like one agenda item. I'm looking for some direction.
It's only all as a whole.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
All 8 as a whole.
Okay, perfect. I will continue on. Number 2, the federal direct grants, which a total of $30,849,502 for a difference of $17,994,397. This is also less than the anticipated amount. The third is for local grants, a total of $1,748,196 for a difference of $448,961, more than the anticipated amount. Number 4, the state flow through grants, which is a total of $37,855,463 for a difference of $7,889,092, which was more than the anticipated amount. Number 5, state direct grants, a total of $334,273 in new grants. Number 6, combined state and local grants, a total of $9,637 in new grant money. Number 7, an APS legislative appropriations from PSFA, a total of $16,555,000 for a difference of $23,384,242, which was less the anticipated amount. And finally, number 8, which is our federal capital direct grants, a total of $10,221,546 in new grant money. Our presenter for this, that's a mouthful, was Miss Rosalinda Montoya, who's our Executive Director of Budget and Strategic Planning. Miss Montoya, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm here to ask your consideration for approval of the grant budget adjustments for those 8 following funds as described by Madam Chair. And with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. I'm looking to the members of the committee. Do we have any questions related to these items? Okay, I see none. Thank you so much. We will go ahead and continue to our next item. Our next item is to consider approval of the June 2024 intra-function transfers for grant budget. And Ms. Montoya, I will turn it back over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, consideration for approval of the June 2024 intra-function transfers for grant budget. As attached, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on item 4.2? Okay, I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Thank you so much. Our next item is to consider approval of the June 2024 intra-function transfers for all non-categorical funds. And Ms. Montoya, back over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm here to present for consideration of approval of the June 2024 intra-function transfers for non-categorical funds. The operation note was totaling $558,000, student transportation 191, enterprise funds of 5,000, and capital funds totaling 3.2 million. With that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on this? Great, I see none. And Board Member Tomorito, I can't see you, so if you do, just jump in, please. I want to make sure I don't miss you.
I don't have any questions.
So
I'm
we will
sorry. It's just
continue
that-
on to item. Okay, no problem. Thank you, thank you. We will move on to item 4.4, which is consideration of approval of gifts and grants and donations for more than $5,000. Here we have a donation to Osuna Elementary School from Osuna Elementary School Parent Teacher Organization. And we have Mr. Turnbull, our Executive Director of Accounting. Mr. Turnbull, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Blakey. This is for consideration of a $5,000 donation to Osuna Elementary School from the Osuna Elementary PTA. This donation is to provide a makerspace for students. I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on this item? Thank you. I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the statement of capital asset cost reduction at Arroyo del Oso Elementary School due to demolition. Our presenter for this is Mr. Ellison, who is our Senior Director of Capital Fiscal Services. Mr. Ellison, there you are. Awesome. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I am presenting for your consideration of approval our statement for capital asset cost reduction at Arroyo, also due to our demolition. The documentation attached identifies the buildings in accordance with our state statute. There's approximately 40,710 square feet of buildings that will be demolished, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on this item? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of statement of equipment to be taken out of service for June 1st through June 30th of 2024. This is for the technology department in the amount of $5,413,066.02, and also the salvage department in the amount of $5,395,515.26. Mr. Ellison, back over to you, sir.
Yes, and Madam President, we missed. And we can do it after if you like. We missed one demolition.
I see that. I see that.
I can do it whenever you choose.
Nope. Let me go back. I was like, I didn't miss anything this time, but
no problem.
No problem. Let's go back to 4.6. Consider approval of statement of capital asset cost reduction at Duranes Elementary School due to demolition of the Early Childhood Center. And Mr. Ellison, here you go.
Thank you. So, Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Blakey, I am presenting that consideration of approval for the capital asset cost reduction at Doranis Elementary due to the demolition of the Early Childhood Center. The documentation that's attached identifies the buildings that will be demolished in accordance with our state statute. Approximately 39,304 square feet of buildings will be demolished, and they will be demolished in 2 phases. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ellison. Members of the committee, any questions on this? No. Okay, we will move over to 4.7, which is now consideration of approval of statement to be taken out of service for June 1st to June 30th of 2024. So, Mr. Ellison, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent Blakey. We are presenting for your approval a statement of equipment to be taken out for June 2024. And the attachment there identifies the equipment and furniture that we are taking out for that month in accordance with our state statute. Our technology amount we're submitting is $5,413,066.02. And our salaries department amount is $5,395,515.26. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Looking at for members of the committee, do we have any questions on this? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of supplements to the fleet service contracts for FY 2024. We have 4 of these, which are Real Bus Company, Herrera School Bus Incorporated, Albert Sanchez Bus Company, and Diana Sanchez. And Mr. Benz, who's our Executive Director of Transportation, sir, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey, good morning. The first presentation I have for you is the closeout of last year's contracts. And I stand for any questions on the first one.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Members of the committee, any questions on 4.8? Great, I see none. So we will continue on, which our next item is to consider approval of fleet service contracts. And this is now for FY 25. We have 3 listed, which is Real Beal Bus Company, Albert Sanchez Bus Company, and Diana Sanchez. And Mr. Benz, back over to you, sir.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey, pursuant to PD Regulation 6.432, Department of Transportation Division guidelines, submission of all school bus contracts for review and approval by local boards. These 3 are our current contractors for FY 24-25, and I stand for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Benz. Members of the committee, any questions?
I just have a quick question, Chair Romero.
Yes.
So it looks like we've gone down to 3 bus companies based on the previous where there was 4, now there's 3. Are these companies going to be able to service our transportation needs adequately, or well, I'll stop there.
Currently, right now, about 85% of all transportation needs are done in-house. 2 of the contractors, Diane Sanchez and Albert Sanchez, are actually one company. So really, we're down to 2. Beal Company is down to about 4 buses. His intentions are probably this might be his final year too. So we do have Albert Sanchez, who does a lot of the, or a portion of the, I went blank, the special needs operations. And so majority of all regular ed is done in-house. So I know that Albert Sanchez is also looking at retiring probably in about 4 to 5 years. So we will all be in-house eventually at some point. As far as where we stand today, we are currently down about 30 drivers, which we do have 15 standby drivers, and we do have about 20 staff that can drive. So we will have those routes covered. It's just about 2 weeks in, it gets a little tighter because people start calling out sick. And so it is a little bit nervous, but we are not anywhere near what we were last year. We were down 60 drivers plus. So this year we cut it down, and we are working on a compensation package for the drivers. So hopefully that gets approved here soon. And the retention is the hardest part because there are so much competition here in Albuquerque for certified drivers. But we will be prepared on day one.
No, thank you for that. And I think for that extra information, it's good to know that the concern is being addressed and is being worked on, hopefully aggressively, because that's obviously one of the main issues that we hear is transportation. So I appreciate knowing that it's forefront in your all's mind.
And
Board
Board Member Jackson, additionally, when Mr. Binns, when he's talking about the in-house drivers, he has more control over what that means as far as real numbers of drivers and the compensation for them. So when we have contractors, they can tell us that they have a full staff, but then they end up that the first day of school, they actually only have half a staff. So these numbers that Mr. Binns is talking about are real numbers that he has control over because they are in-house bus drivers. So they're a much more accurate way of determining whether or not we have drivers for the first day of school because they are all in his shop.
Okay. No, and thank you. That's really good extra information, Dr. Blakey. That would probably be helpful for the whole board to be aware of, simply because first day of school is coming and transportation is the issue, and of course air conditioners. So just having that information with us would be helpful. So I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, thank you for your question, Board Member Jackson. Any other questions related to this item? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Binns.
Thank you.
So we will go ahead and continue to item 4.10. So our next item is to consider approval of district purchases or expenditures that equal or exceed $500,000. And I'm going to go ahead and read each one. So bear with me. We removed item 0.1 from it. So number 2 is purchase office supplies. 3 of purchasing beverage services. 4, fuel from TAC Energy. 5, small construction services on call. Number 6, this is telecommunication services. And 7, line spotting services here. And we have our presenter is Ms. Gensler, our Executive Director of Procurement. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey, I am requesting consideration for approval of the purchase of office supplies. This is a multi-award utilizing statewide price agreements and cooperatives. The estimated cost is for $5.1 million for 3 years, and I'm happy to answer questions.
No question. And Ms. Gensler, go ahead and present all the way through 7. And then if we have questions as a whole, we will address that.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I'm here to request consideration for approval of the purchase of beverage services. This is Pepsi Beverage Company is the recommended awarded vendor. It was based on a request for proposal. It's a 6-year contract, and the estimated cost is $1.2 million. Happy to answer questions. Next, I am requesting consideration for approval of the purchase of TAC Energy, fuel from TAC Energy, excuse me, as needed. This is based on a state of New Mexico price agreement. The estimated annual cost is $900,000 for fiscal year 24-25, utilizing operational funds. Happy to answer any questions on that. Next, I'm requesting consideration for approval of the purchase of small construction services on call. This is based on a request for proposal. The estimated purchase is 3 years, cost $50 million using capital and operational funds. It's a multiple award, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this item. Next, I am requesting consideration for the approval of the purchase of telecommunication services. This is based on a GSA, utilizing a GSA contract. The recommended vendor is CenturyLink Lumens. It's for 5 years. Estimated cost is $5 million using district operational funds. Happy to answer any questions on that item. Next is consideration, requesting consideration for the approval of line spotting services on call. This is utilizing a request for proposal. It's estimated at $750,000 using capital funds for 4 years, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this item.
Thank you so much for that. Members of the committee, was there anything related to the items listed above before we continue? Okay, I see none. So Mr. I'm going to butcher your name again, Ms. Chancellor. Thank you so much for your presentation this morning. Okay, the next item is to consider approval of the June 2024 cash disbursements, and back over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I'm requesting consideration and approval for the June 2024 cash disbursements, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions on cash disbursements? Great. Thank you so much. So our next item is to consider recommending consent agenda board approval for items discussed during the July 24th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting, which include grant budget adjustments, June 2024 budget and grant intra-function transfers, gifts, grants, and donations for more than $5,000, statement of capital assets cost reduction at Arroyo del Oso and Doranis Elementary School due to demolition, statement of equipment to be taken out of service for May through June of 2024, supplements to the fleet service contracts for FY24, fleet service contracts for FY25, and district purchases or expenditures that equal or exceed $500,000. This includes purchase of office supplies, beverage services, fuel from TAC Energy, small construction services that are on call, telecommunication services, and line spotting services on call, and the June 2024 cash disbursements. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we recommend the consent agenda board approval of items discussed during the July 24th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting, including grant budget adjustments, June 2024 budget and grant intra-function transfers, gifts, grants, and donations of more than $5,000, statement of capital assets cost reduction at Arroyo del Oso Elementary School and Doranis Elementary School due to demolition, statement of equipment to be taken out of service for May through June 2024, supplements to the fleet service contracts for FY24, fleet service contracts for FY25, district purchases of expenditures that equal or exceed $500,000, B, purchase office supply, C, purchase beverage services, D, fuel from TAC Energy as needed, E, small construction services on call, F, telecommunication services, G, line spotting services on call, and finally, June 2024 cash disbursements. This is Board Member Benavides.
This is Board Member Jackson. I'll second.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may we have a roll call, please?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. So our next Finance Committee meeting will be held on August 27th, 2024 at 8:35 a.m. virtually. You could also watch on the APS Board of Education YouTube channel. And with that being said, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.